you shocked?
Dropping a 40 burger on the Chargers?
And if they didn't turn it over twice.
I mean, it was...
They might have hung half 100 on them.
They were... And we'll get to that. Yeah. Let me ask you this. So this season is much more attrition than people think. Since you've played, they've added a game on. They want to add another one on. And I think the league athletes get bigger and stronger every year. The hits are harder. And so I look at Detroit, and I really felt it yesterday. They're running out of dudes.
Yeah.
And Buffalo's not. And frankly, Philadelphia is so damn deep. I even look at Green Bay and the Rams and Tampa. Did you ever play for a team and you're like, we're just running out of dudes?
So we had my rookie year, we kind of backed into the playoffs. And I talked about this last week. The second year, we won a bunch of games in the middle chunk of the year, that like middle third.
Yeah.
And we're starting to crescendo right at the right time. And that's what some of those teams you mentioned are doing. Unfortunately for Detroit, it's the opposite. Right. They're going on the downturn. Right. And that's the only fear. When you start that hot, you just hope guys don't start dropping. And if they do, it's a short break, right? You miss them for 2 games, whatever. You have somebody patch the hole and then move on. Unfortunately, they're losing guys left and right, and they're catastrophic injuries. And now it turned into hey, we got to outscore these teams. It changed, right? Formula to win every week is based on your personnel. Well, when you start losing personnel, and now it's, okay, we're more of a one-sided team because our defense is so depleted that we got to outscore you and kind of change our toughness identity. Because if you're an outscoring the other team type ball club, that's a more finesse group, usually.
Right.
Usually.
Right.
You can still run the ball and be physical, but generally speaking, you're a little more finesse. That's not really what they are. Then you lose Montgomery. I mean, that was one of the best tandems in the league when it comes to running backs, either them or the Buccaneers.
Yeah.
So they just kind of lost a little bit of their identity because they lost so many guys that were starting for them. And that's just, you can't control that.
And I think that's you hit it. They're losing their identity. It's not just players. Bit of their identity is deep, talented, layers, 2 backs. Now they're kind of like...
And everybody can only withstand so much. I mean, and it was interesting because we had that Bucs game, I was closer to it and a little more, I guess, aware. But hearing Todd Bowles talk about it, we have the luxury of talking to these coaches each week going into games.
They were beat up early.
Exactly. And so I asked him about that and this war of attrition that we talk about over the long haul of the season. And he almost like cut me off and was just like, hey, these guys made the team for a reason. I'm getting paid to coach them. I got to coach them up. I got to get them in the right spots. And it's my job when we put in all these blitz packages to get them in the right spot. And, Antoine Winfield, he does these 20 things for us really well.
Yeah.
Well, the guy who's filling in for him, Merriweather, he might not do all those things. Okay, but what does he do well?
Yeah.
Let's try and keep him in that zone, keep him in that strike zone.
I like that perspective.
You know what I mean? And I really appreciated that because a lot of teams, you use it as an excuse. And however you want to use it, I just appreciated that he said, hey, man, it was almost like he was convincing himself not to go to negative town, like, oh, woe is me, we lost all these players. So I really appreciated that.
I thought it was interesting with the Packers last night, and we both know they're young and good. But those first 2 drives, they took Seattle's crowd out of it.
And you got to do that in Seattle.
I'm sitting there watching. I'm like, man, they talked about that all week.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And going into a hostile environment like that, it's, you're 53 against the world kind of mentality and enemy territory.
Did you like that?
I mean, we loved it. That was our only chance, right? We didn't win the division. Tom Brady was owning our division when we were playing. Yeah. So we had to go on the road in the playoffs. Warriors. And it just felt like, okay, this is what we do. And once you stack one of those wins, you're like, I like it. Let's do it again. We're kind of the villain coming into town. Right. We're the Grinch. We come in, we steal your Christmas and move on and try and go take the next one. That's kind of the way it feels. So I think they've adopted that mentality for sure. And when you go to Seattle like that, you better be ready early. And if you're not ready early, you're going to get punched and you're going to be a little wobbly and then you got to try and come back. And that's really hard to do, to shut that crowd up later in the game after they're already going bonkers. So
I thought of you because I knew you were on the show today and I thought about this. So I've been joking today that Philadelphia is the strangest great organization in football. I mean, you got coaches on the sidelines yelling. You've got wide receiver drama. I mean, they run through coaches that make the Super Bowl. And I actually thought, what was the last team that won a lot of games that had a level of dysfunction? And I thought, Rex Ryan, you guys you were loud.
It was noisy.
Okay, but my take is it kind of worked for you guys. And for Philadelphia, I kind of feel like they're very alpha, but it's kind of, the GM's alpha, the owner's alpha. And everybody I look at them and I'm like, ugh, yeah, and I'm like, they got a name for their security guard. I know the name of their security guard. Go back to your Jets team.
It's Ray Donovan.
Right? So go back to your Jets team. It was a loud team with a loud media.
It was loud.
Did we look at it? Were we making more out of what it really was?
Some of the stuff, like, I'm trying to think of a story that blew up for no reason. Anything on Hard Knocks, I'm sure, got blown out of proportion. It's just
the M&Ms.
Yeah, like, the M&Ms or, whatever.
Foot fetish.
There we go.
I'm sorry, it happened. It's not me.
Where other people were just like, what? Like, I didn't even know that was a thing. Like, some guys on the team didn't even realize that was really happening in the media.
So you weren't paying attention.
And then, you go to your press conference on Wednesday or Thursday and they have to tell you, they give you like a little briefing. Think of like the president. You can't just throw him out there blind. Like, hey, good luck.
So
hey,
they would warn you.
We're going to have this conversation. I'm sure they're going to ask about Russia. I'm sure they're going to ask about this.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you got to have an idea of what's coming up. So then I hear about it 30 seconds before I go up to the podium, and I'm like, do I even have to comment on that? Like, is this really a thing?
Right.
And who cares? Like,
New York does.
No, I know, but my thing was like, okay, maybe he's in defeat. I don't know. Is that affecting if we're winning these games or not? I'm unsure why
that really was, folks. If you're just tuning in, it was a thing in New York.
But I don't know.
It works for Philly.
It does in some ways. I think it's distracting at times, but they have the personnel. Bottom line, they have the personnel to overcome that. And when you have those kind of players and you start winning games like this, dominating games, and you can run the ball like that. Come on, man. I mean, they have 5 to 7 players on each side of the ball that other teams would kill for.
Yeah.
Would give up the farm for to start a team around.
Right.
You know what I mean? Their whole offensive line is one of the best lines in the league, and they just demolish you up front. They own the line of scrimmage and reestablish it 2 yards down the field. So, I mean, yeah, a couple loud stories and whatever, this outside noise, I don't think it bothers them because they're just too good. They're really good.
They are really good.
And I know we were supposed to talk about the Packers, and I went heavy on the Seahawks, but if I could circle back to the Packers.
Sure.
Because they're young, but if you approach them as young in the playoffs, I think you're crazy. That's a team young in trips around the sun, not young in experience. Remember, they went to Dallas last year and waxed them.
Dominated.
Right. They won by 16 or 18 points, 16 points.
In the second quarter, it was like over.
Okay, so that was big time. Then they have the Niners on the ropes and should have won that game. They're in the championship. I mean, they're playing Detroit for the championship game.
They've been in prize fights.
That's what I'm saying. So this team, if you approach them like, oh, this is a young team, they're not ready for it. Whew. That'd be a bad way to go about it, in my opinion.
Mark was the quarterback for the Jets in their last playoff win. The bad news, that was 2010.
Dang.
I didn't mean, I'm just telling the truth.
Wow.
I'm sorry. Is that inappropriate?
Now starting in left field.
Okay.
Holy smokes.
He brings tape. All I do is drop facts. Okay. I watch Baker Mayfield. People think I don't like Baker. When he signed with Tampa, I said, I got no problem with it. He's hit the grit and the fit. It's going to work.
Ooh, grit and the fit. Nice.
So let's what do you got for me?
No, listen, Tampa in general, I think their formula to win, we talk about this with a lot of teams. They run the ball well. They stop the run well. They can choke you out, essentially. They suffocate you. And the way they do it is they limit your possessions. So instead of anywhere from 12 to 15 possessions a game, you're getting like 10, 9.
Yeah.
And you better score on 4 to 7 of those if you want to have a really good offensive outing. That's really hard. That's asking your offense to do a lot. And that's kind of where they get over. Vita Vea, I don't think he gets enough love on the D-line. He is constantly dealing with double teams, constantly knocking 2 players back, grown men, just throwing them around. So that was fun to watch. And when Baker takes care of the football, I mean, Liam Cohen's got this guy.
He's going to get some offers to be a head coach.
Oh, 100%. Just based on, I mean, look at Canales last year. Look at Liam Cohen. He went right in that spot, and he might have this team in the same position, if not better, if they win a playoff game. So I just appreciate his approach to third down. Remember, they're second in the league, I think, in third down behind Kansas City.
Yeah.
So this is an explosive unit on third down, and they do take chances, and I think they do it at the right time. And they align their guys in specific spots. They get information from the defense. I think those are really important themes. And then they trust Baker to cut it loose when it's time to cut it loose. So when we roll the first clip, when we talk about getting information from the defense, they're going to do it with the halfback and the motion. And so watch the back, and it's really the speed and the pace. And this looks real. We have it in slow motion, but it looks real that they're going to snap it. And Rachaad White's going to go flying to the left of the screen. So those safeties start to trigger. So Baker knows I got a double cadence. Okay, I got him. They're going man to man. I can confirm the defense. I know exactly what I'm getting. So we zoom out to the all 22, and you see the man to man that Baker confirmed with that motion. So that just gives him one thing in his back pocket. I know what I'm facing. Now, normally these bunch sets, you have this guy closer to those stacked receivers. But because he's a little farther in, alignment dictates your assignment and how the defense is going to play you. So these guys are going to lock the point. And normally in a bunch like this, when you send 3 defenders out there, you're going to lock the point one-on-one and then combo the other 2. The first guy's going to take the first one in. The inside defender will take the inside route. The outside defender will take the outside route. And you kind of zone those off till they end up in your area and then attack your guy. Well, because he's displaced, also, they can't do that. And he can potentially give presence on Khalil Mack. So now you're affecting the D-line and their rush plan. Because if he's going to get chipped, he's got to prepare for that. So because of where he lines up, they're just going to go man-to-man across the board.
Yeah.
Look at the problem with this congestion and traffic pattern for the defense. How do you get through all that? They're going to release all these guys on the same level, and it's going to cause some serious issues when they release off the ball. Watch, McMillan's going to run around, and watch the natural pick he gets from the other 2 guys. He has the throw inside if he really wanted it on the in route, but he puts a beautiful ball up in the air.
That feels like it's almost unstoppable.
Yeah, like that was
executed well.
And it was executed well. It was called at the right time. It was third and short. You knew you were going to get man-to-man, and you trust Baker to make the right decision. If they get zoned off, you're going to read Otten to the in route to the back. Right? And he trusts them to do that. If you get man, hey, this wheel route's a high alert. Boom, nailed it. They got man. He told him it was going to be man. He showed him in the walkthrough. He showed him with the motion. It happened in the game. You could tell they're on the same page. Next time, it's third and long. So remember, on third and long, if you convert, third and 10 plus, if you convert 1 for 4, you're probably leading the league. Same thing if you throw, balls over 40 yards in the air. If you hit 1 for 4 of those, you're doing fine, right? So just keep those stats in mind as we roll the next clip, because this next clip is 3rd and 12. So remember, 1 for 4, and we're feeling great about ourselves as an offense. So this defense is going to present from the Chargers and Jesse Minter this sticks coverage. They're going to put all 3 safeties at the same level, and they're all going to be right where the sticks are. They're going to play everything top down and react to underneath routes because they think these kind of routes are coming. This is what a lot of teams do. They line up in 3-by-1, put your best receiver in a cut split, run them on a shallow cross, and then tell these other guys to go block. It's basically like a service type play for your best receiver, hopefully a broken tackle, hopefully a good block. Boom, you get a first down, and you luck into one. Great. Or what Liam Cohen wants to do, dude, let's go. Let's get aggressive. If we're going 1 for 4 on third down, who cares? We're going 1 for 4 on this go ball. Let's go.
Yeah.
We got speed. We got size. We got a quarterback who can rip it. Let's do it. Every once in a while, I like taking a shot on third and long. And so what do? All these DBs get caught on the same level. And watch where Derwin James goes. He's kind of playing the middle field safety. He picks to the right. So Baker's like, cool, I'm moving off of you. Baker dropped back, stared right at Derwin James. Derwin James goes right, he goes left. Well, you get an east-west double team. So an in and out double team. There's only one way to beat it, Colin, and you'll never forget it because it's Olivia Newton-John, not physical, but let's get vertical. Okay? That's how you beat an east-west double team. But the other thing is, apparently he had Mike Evans on his
fantasy team because he had 3 different touchdowns to throw on this play. There's 3 dudes who could easily get this throw, which is crazy to me on 3rd and 12, which means those guys were on their heels expecting those underneath routes. You jumped them with your speed. You threw routes right at him, and you blew right by him. So he throws this incredible ball to a future Hall of Famer, first ballot.
Yeah.
I mean, this was beautiful.
Look at how open. They have multiple guys open.
There's 3 touchdowns on one play. I mean, the only regret on that play, if I'm Liam Cohen, is like, dang, I wish we could have spread them out. You know what I mean? So it was really fun to watch. I think Baker's really coming into his own. And I'm telling you, when he takes care of the football, he had 1 bad interception yesterday. Other than that, it was just a little late, bad read, kind of reactionary kind of throw. And other than that, he played lights out.
I want to wrap with this. Got a couple of minutes left. If Bengals, Joe Burrow barking at the coach, and I appreciate authenticity. I've said this before. Mm-hmm. I will defend a pro athlete during a game on the sidelines, Manning yelling at Jeff Saturday, Brady yelling at Josh. I will always defend an athlete. What did you make of it?
I mean, you can read his lips and you can tell what he's saying.
Yeah, we played like blank, yeah.
And I'm sure he's, the coach is trying to give him, hey man, we're going to be fine. Trying to love you up. And I get it. He's so competitive. He gets into a dark space. You can tell when he's plays, that dude's nasty and he's like a hired assassin. You know what I mean? He's like no emotion. I'm here to win, and I don't just want to win. I want to rip your heart out. So it's hard to console people like that, especially in the moment. Your tensions are already high. So what are you going to say? Like, yeah, coach, you're right. We're going to be okay, or it's okay. Yeah.
I kind of like that Burrow's standards though are, I don't care that we're winning. I care how we're winning.
Yeah. And he's frustrated, just like a lot of people there in Cincinnati. It's not going exactly the way they thought.
Okay.
And, they're trying to fight for their lives. So and their jobs and job security and all that. So it's, there's a lot going on.
Okay. Patrick Mahomes gets hurt. Carson Wentz is a more than capable backup. Would you worry if you're Andy Reid? Listen, it's late in the season. Xavier Worthy's young. Noah Gray's young. Do you think Andy would go, I'm going to give you 2 to 3 weeks off, but I think the receiving core is kind of new. Would you worry about that at all?
The relationship between the quarterback and receivers?
Kelsey, I don't worry about. But there's a lot of new faces.
I think some of it would just be their chemistry in general. The other thing, quarterback to receiver and time on task and stuff, like Mahomes is getting all those reps in practice. He knows the body language, whatever. The other guy's only watching, right? Carson Wentz is only watching those reps, taking in as much as he can. But the one thing I'll say about Andy Reid is go back to whoever's played for him. Every quarterback has had some level of success playing for that guy. I don't care if it's Kevin Kolb, Jeff Garcia, McNabb. The laundry list is long. It's like a CVS receipt. The dude is just a quarterback whisperer, and he's going to put you in great situations, and the stuff you can't handle, he's going to keep that away from you. Okay. And we'll play a little more conservative approach. And if the other team beats us, they beat us. But we're not going to give it away. You know what I mean? And expect you to do something that Patrick does, or expect, Kevin Kolb to do something that Michael Vick or Donovan McNabb can do. You know what I mean? Like, he's not going to do that to these players. So that's probably the least of my concerns there, because I trust the head coach.
Yeah. Sometimes I think, watching Burrow and watching Mahomes, we forget that it's not just a Sunday business.
Oh, no. There's a lot that goes into it.
That's all we see.
Of course.
But it's the Andy Reid's right. Like the ability to play chess, relate.
And not to say it's easy, not to say he's not going to,
right,
have some sleepless nights there, but
again, the last guy to win a Jets playoff game. I will not mention the year. Apparently that's sensitive. Hey, does somebody
I'm offended.
Hi, everybody. It's me, Uncle Colin. Subscribe here to get the latest from the herd, including exclusive behind-the-scenes videos and more, wherever you may be, however you may be watching. Thanks again for making us part of your day.